Sounds good. Good morning, and thanks for joining us this morning. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes to let people join, but really appreciate you all being here. All right, so it's 11:30, so we're going to get started. We have a lot of material to cover, and this is a super important topic. So good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning for a workshop on saving water to combat drought. Make sure I can get rolling. So my name's Christine Condon. I'm a department analyst with the Energy and Sustainability Division of the County of Sonoma, and I'll be your host and moderator today. I've been with the division for about 5 years. Joining me today is Brian Lee, a senior program specialist with Sonoma Water, and Claire Nordley, water use efficiency coordinator with Santa Rosa Water. And I'll let them tell you a little about themselves before each of their presentations. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please enter them into the chat window to be addressed at the end of their presentations. Following the workshop, a link to the recordings of the workshop will be sent out to all participants. You should expect to see the link within about a week, after we've completed the review of the recording and prepared the slides for distribution. If you haven't received it by midweek next week, check your junk or spam folders. If you still don't have it, contact our office and we can send it out directly to you. So a little bit about the Energy and Sustainability Division at the County of Sonoma. Not many people realize that the county has an Energy and Sustainability Division, and if they do, they don't realize the number of services that we offer for the community. The division was originally created in 2006 to address internal county energy use in order to mitigate climate change through greenhouse gas reduction. And in 2009, our first community-facing program was introduced, the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, also known as Skype. Skype was and is the longest running residential PACE program, Property Assessed Clean Energy Program. And the program allowed property owners to finance energy and water saving improvements as a tool in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The financing program has since been expanded to include wildfire safety and seismic strengthening measures. And since that time, we've added a number of services and resources for the community. So our primary focus is on buildings and behaviors. We assist Sonoma County residents and businesses through a variety of services. We work with cities, towns, special districts, businesses, and residents to increase energy efficiency and resilience in their buildings through energy retrofit project planning, connection to rebates and financing, and other resources. Our consultation services are no cost, and where we provide impartial information to community members to educate them so that you can make informed choices about building improvements. We offer project planning services to help identify resources such as incentives, rebates, and financing to get projects done. And we host numerous workshops and trainings for the community and for workforce development. Here's a couple of other upcoming webinars that we wanted to make sure you were aware of. We've been holding these workshops regularly on Wednesday mornings from 11:30 to 12:30 p.m. And the two that are coming up, Funding Your Improvements, that's always a popular one, and Understanding Residential Heat Pumps for Heating, Ventilation, and Air Conditioning Systems and Water Heating. So we're going to get started here, and Ben will be presenting the first part of this presentation today. Take it away, Ben.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Lee from Sonoma
I'm sorry,
Water.
Brian.
Oh, no problem. I'm at Sonoma Water, Senior Program Specialist, and we are a team of 6 here at Sonoma Water in water use efficiency. We manage several water use efficiency programs, and we coordinate the Sonoma Marin Saving Water Partnership, which is a partnership of regional water suppliers in the area. These include the city of Cloverdale, Healdsburg, Windsor, Santa Rosa, California American Water Larkfield, Rohnert Park, Cotati, Petaluma, Valley of the Moon Water District, City of Sonoma, North Marin Water District, and Marin Water. You can visit the partnership website at savingwaterpartnership.org. Next slide, please. So today I'm going to cover where your water comes from, the current water supply and drought conditions, some state prohibitions and local restrictions, and what you can do to help save water. Next slide. So where our water comes from, we have reservoirs, Lake Mendocino and Lake Sonoma. Our reservoirs release water down the Russian River as a natural pipeline, and we withdraw the water through wells located near Wohler, if you're familiar with that area. The water is naturally filtered through 100 feet of sand and gravel, and does not require any treatment other than some chlorination and some soda to balance the pH. Next slide, please. So Sonoma Water's transmission system starts from that little red circle. That's the Wohler water supply facilities, and it's pumped through the aqueduct, which is the dotted black line. The water systems in Santa Rosa, Rohnert Park, Petaluma, Cotati, Windsor, Sonoma Valley, and Marin all receive water through our transmission system. Next slide, please. So droughts are unlike other natural disasters. They kind of creep in slowly and unnoticed, and then suddenly you realize that we're behind on rainfall. It also ends abruptly once rainfall returns. So the impacts are felt unequally depending on your location and your circumstances and your sources of water. No one knows when this drought will be over. Could be this this winter, or it could be several years from now. Climate change points to a higher frequency of greater duration of droughts. And a quote from John Steinbeck: "During the dry years, the people forgot about the rich years, and when the wet years returned, they lost all memory of the dry years. It was always that way." So it's kind of very true. We always forget when we were short on water, and we always forget when we had too much. So next slide, please. So current drought conditions, we are now in the third year of drought. These graphics show our water supply in 2020, 2021, and 2022. If you take a look at Lake Sonoma, which is the left diagram, you can see 2022 levels are at 53%, which is actually lower than last year at this time when we were at 52%. Let's see, and then in Lake Mendocino, 2022 is at 60%. We're doing much better this year than we were last year at 34%. Next slide, please. So Sonoma Water is responding to the drought with a lot of planning and water conservation. Some of the planning that we're doing is in terms of helping to make our water supply more resilient. This includes better management of reservoir operations through weather forecasting, and in coordination with the Army Corps of Engineers to manage our water supply during the winter. And also with our public awareness campaigns. Drought is still here. Excuse me for a second. Next slide, please. This is a map of California from the US Drought Monitor. As you can see, our region is in the gold colored area. We're considered to be in a severe drought. Next slide, please. Here's a graph of Lake Mendocino storage for the past few years. If you take a look at the gray line, that is the average water storage annually from 1960 to 2005. You'll see the peaks are, the peaks are indicative of the maximum amount of water in the lake, and then the troughs are at the end of the water year before the rains begin. You can see on the blue line that the trough keeps going in December of 2020 because it did not rain. So, and right now we are at about 50,000 acre feet. Next slide, please. Here's a graph of Lake Sonoma storage. The orange line is the 30-year average, and the blue line is the current situation. Again, the level continues to drop all the way down until last November, when we had a series of big storms. And we're now sitting at about 140,000 acre feet. So Lake Sonoma storage, we typically consider it to be a 3-year storage. So if it stopped raining when it was full, it would last about 3 years. As you can see, we're about a little bit more than a third down. So hopefully we'll get some more rain to build back our buffer of 3 years. Next slide, please. So statewide, the governor has issued an order for water conservation in July of 2021 to reduce water throughout the state by 15% compared to 2020 levels. And these included common sense actions to save water, such as reducing outdoor irrigation, running full loads of laundry and dishes, finding and fixing leaks, and installing high efficiency fixtures and toilets, and capturing and reusing warm up and rinse water. Next slide, please. In January of 2022, the governor updated the order with additional requirements, including water served only upon request at restaurants, turning off decorative water fountains, turning off irrigation systems when it's raining and for 2 days after rain, using an automatic shutoff nozzle on your hose, using a broom, not water, to clean sidewalks and driveways, and avoiding overwatering your landscape to prevent runoff. Next slide, please. Statewide drought emergency regulations. On May 24th, 2022, the state board adopted a second emergency regulation just recently, including banning the irrigation of non-functional turf with potable water on commercial landscapes. Non-functional is defined as turf that is solely ornamental and not regularly used for human recreation or for civic or community events. The order allows continued irrigation of trees within the turf. And there's a link here for more information on that, and you'll be able to get that when the slides come out. Next slide, please. So with the changes in our water supply, Sonoma Water has applied and received permission for a temporary urgency change petition. This changes the way Sonoma Water manages the water in the Russian River. So on May 25th, the state board allowed us to lower the minimum in-stream flows to preserve reservoir storage. Next slide, please. This is more information on the state board order, which includes us to be required to reduce our withdrawals from the Russian River by 20%. Next slide, please. The Sonoma Marine Saving Water Partnership drought activities. So this will cover what we are currently doing in order to get the word out about the drought. So our regional drought outreach campaign has been running since January of 2020. Our partners are currently implementing level 2 shortage response measures continuously since 2021. And in 2022, we'll be hosting a series of pop-up events, including one in August, coming up in August 20th, with 6 locations located throughout Sonoma and Marin counties, and more locations to be announced. At these events, you'll be able to pick up free water saving tools and information, as well as a bucket to help you catch that warm up water while you're waiting for hot water. Next slide, please. So if you don't want to wait for that event, you can always get free water savings devices through the DIY toolkit, which is available through Sonoma County libraries. You can check out the toolbox, and it includes items to use and also items to keep to check your home for water and energy efficiency. Some of the items that you can keep include LED light bulbs, shower heads, and faucet aerators. In 2022, the partnership also hosted the Eco-Friendly Garden Tour, which was hosted online due to the COVID concerns. Videos of gardens throughout Sonoma County were featured, and you can check that out on the partnership website at savingwaterpartnership.org. Also on the website is the Water Smart Plant Picker. So plants in the landscape use quite a bit of water, so picking the right plants can help you use less. The Water Smart Plant Picker will let you explore all of the low water use plants that thrive in our area, and you can create a plant shopping list that you can download to take to your local nurseries, where the plants can be found with the Water Smart Plant label. Next slide, please. So the Water Smart Plant Label program labels all of the low water use plants at 33 local nurseries in Sonoma and Marin County. If you need additional assistance with designing your garden, we offer the Garden Sense program with the Sonoma County Master Gardeners, who will come to your home and give you a free consultation on how to improve the water efficiency of your landscape. Another program that we offer is the Qualified Water Efficient Landscaper Program. This is an education program targeted towards the landscape professionals, such as landscapers, landscape architects, and landscape designers. It's a training that provides them with the background and information to design and maintain low water use landscapes. You can look for a qualified water efficient landscaper to hire at quel.net, QWEL.net. And this is actually a program that has taken off statewide, and also in several other Western states, and even Canada have adopted this program. We've also have a Water Smart Garden maintenance manual on our website. This manual will help you with how to maintain a low water use landscape, including the different things that you need to do to prune and maintain low water use trees, shrubs, and grasses. And of course, there are more tips, resources, and rebates available at savingwaterpartnership.org. Next slide, please. This slide shows our water usage over time. Graph starts at 1995 all the way to 2021. So the orange line is the gallons per capita per day, which is an average of how much water each person uses in our service area. And as you can see, way back in 95, it was around 160 gallons per day. And now we're down below 100 gallons per day. You can see right where the graph changes color, there's a big dip, and that is indicative of the 2008 2009 recession, where our economy went down. And then it slowly started to creep back up around 2013. And then the next dip was the 2015 drought. And then we're rebounding from the drought, and then peaking again in 2019. And then we're seeing another dip due to the current drought. But overall, if you draw a straight line from all of the peaks, you can see a clear downward trend. And this is in spite of the gray line, which is population, which is increasing. And I think Claire will have a similar slide to this on her presentation. Next slide, please. That's the last slide for me, and I'll be staying on if you have any questions at the end of Claire's presentation.
Thanks, Brian. Hi, everyone. I'm Claire Nordley. I'm the Water Use Efficiency Coordinator for the City of Santa Rosa. Colleen, could you change to, yeah, perfect. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I'm going to talk about Santa Rosa Water specifically. So sort of just a general overview, and then I'm going to really get into water conservation and the available rebates and applicable tips and resources for you all. So annual budget for Santa Rosa Water is about $150 million, and that goes into providing water and sewer service to over 175,000 customers in Santa Rosa. So that's maintaining the pipes, that's checking water quality, that's budget for staff like me in the water conservation section. It's stormwater and creeks, it's maintaining all of our water meters. It's a huge amount of work. And we do have about 200 employees or so for right here, employed 250 highly trained and skilled staff in the water department. So we do maintain over 1,200 miles of water and sewer pipes. So as you can imagine, maintaining all of those, replacing them, et cetera, is a costly business. We also treat and beneficially, oh, sorry, can you go back, please? Thank you. So we treat and beneficially reuse about 17 million gallons of recycled water per day. So right now, the vast majority of our recycled water, which is basically all of the water that we flush down the drain and is reused in our homes, actually goes out to our sewer treatment plant. It's clean to a very high level. And then it's actually most of it, about 90-ish +% of it, goes out to a Calpine pipeline and actually gets injected underground and then is used to move steam turbines. And so it creates clean energy, something like over 100,000 people every year. So it's a really beneficial use of that recycled water. We also do have some use for it in irrigation. So it actually does irrigate a small percentage. It's less than 1% of our total water portfolio, but some urban customers here in Santa Rosa do receive recycled water for irrigation. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the vast majority of our water supply comes from Sonoma Water. So exactly what Brian was saying is the Russian River. We also do have city wells. So there's a lane, or there's a well on Farmers Lane, for example, and that's used seasonally. It's an artesian well, so it produces a huge amount of water actually, but we do allow it to recharge in the wintertime. And obviously our demand is decreased in the wintertime because people are not irrigating. So we do pump in the summertime from Farmers Lane. And then we also have recycled water. Like I said, it's about 1% of our total water supply portfolio that's actually used for customers here in Santa Rosa. And then we do consider water conservation an actual source of supply. Santa Rosa has invested in water conservation for many years, really since the 1970s. There's been some sort of water conservation efforts going on in Santa Rosa. In 1990, we actually established a full-time permanent position, which is my position, which is the water conservation coordinator. So for many years, Santa Rosa has invested in water conservation. And to Brian's point about the gallons per capita per day decreasing while the population increases, that trend is certainly present in Santa Rosa. Our population has increased about 41% since 1990, but our water use has decreased 14%. So you can see there's a total disconnect, and that's really exciting and successful. And, Santa Rosa is very appreciative to all of our customers for being able to conserve so that we can have a city that still operates successfully and is able to survive. Next slide, please. So I guess I leapt ahead of myself. But yeah, like I was saying, 30 years of water conservation. In the last 30 years, we've spent over $21 million on water conservation. And that involves replacing 56,000 toilets in the Santa Rosa area, removing almost 4 million square feet of grass. Actually, during this current drought, we're now up to 3.8 million square feet of grass removed and converted into low water use gardens. We have several different kinds of rebates and incentive programs. And we've achieved about over 7,000 acre feet per year of sustained reductions, which is a 44% reduction in our gross gallons per capita per day, while still and achieving a 14% reduction in total water use. So it's really exciting to see that there's sustained permanent water savings that are happening. As Brian showed in that graph, yes, there is a slight uptick in water use after a drought happens. And that's usually because people have taken extreme measures. They're putting a bucket in their shower or something like that, or they're taking extremely short showers, or they're not flushing the toilet every time or something like that, extreme measures. And then after a drought, they revert back to more normal habits, but they've still made, large investments that are permanent, that allow our water use to decline over time in a permanent and sustainable way. So it's exciting to see. Next slide, please. So I guess I just keep getting ahead of myself. This is a piece of legislation that was approved way back when, SB X 7x7, which basically says that all water utilities in California need to save 20% by 2020. So you can see the orange line is the 20%, or is the 2020 target of a 20% reduction. And that goal was 126 gallons per capita per day. You can see Santa Rosa is at 99 in 2020. So not only met that goal, significantly was below that goal, which is exciting. Of course, there's still opportunities to save, but I do have to say proudly that Santa Rosa is one of the lowest gallons per capita per day in the entire Sonoma County and Marin area region. So that's exciting, but there's still always more chances to save, and we'll be talking about those next. So next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about some of the plans that we have in place so that we are prepared, for this current drought and future droughts. So one of those plans is our water shortage contingency plan. This is something that's required by the state of California. It's updated every 5 years, and it basically is a huge, thick document, and it's of course publicly available on our website, that really lists the steps and ways in which we're going to meet water demand forecasts for normal water supply years, but also drought years and then multi-year drought years. And so we have a plan in place about what we would do if, like I said, we're in a normal water year, we're in a drought, and we're in a severe drought that lasts for a long time. And we have a plan in place for that, just like every water utility does in the state of California. And again, that's publicly available. We do a whole planning process around it. It takes, over a year for us to develop that plan every year. But there is a plan in place, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that in a future slide. But the other piece about planning ahead is that we really do coordinate with our regional partners. So as Brian was saying, the city of Santa Rosa is part of the Sonoma Marin Saving Water Partnership, where we coordinate on all sorts of regional efforts. So in addition to the programs that Brian was talking about, the Quell program and the Water Smart Plant Picker program, We also make sure that all of our marketing is coordinated. So that way, if somebody lives in Rohnert Park, but works in Santa Rosa or something like that, all of the marketing is the same so that people really understand that we all are coming from the same water supply and that we all need to conserve. So next slide, please. Thanks. So on June 29th, oh, that should say 2021. I apologize for that typo. June 29th, 2021, last year, the City Council of Santa Rosa adopted stage 3 of our water shortage contingency plan. And if you scroll to the next slide, please. So there are various different stages of the water shortage contingency plan. Right now, as you can see in red, we are at stage 3, which means that we are asking for a 20% mandatory community-wide reduction. So there's a little bit of confusion about what exactly that means. Basically, what that means is it's a community-wide reduction. It's not an individual target. So there are some people who, have already removed their lawn. They have high efficiency fixtures. They're doing everything that they can to save water at their house and have been doing that for many years. Those people, it's probably not possible for them to save an additional 20%. And to those people, we just say, keep up the good work. If there's a way for you to save additionally, do so. But if you can't, that's okay too. On the other hand, there could be people that could save much more than 20%. Maybe people who have a really large lawn that they don't actually use, or high flow fixtures, an old washing machine, et cetera. Those are the people that we really want to save even more than 20%, so that overall community-wide, we're at 20% reduction. So, and that's in comparison to 2020. So we get a lot of people who are like, I've done everything I can. There's no way I can save 20%. And I'm just here to tell you, rest assured, don't worry, you do not have to save an additional 20% if that's not possible for you. On the other hand, I bet it is a little bit possible that you can save a little bit more than what you're currently doing. I know, for myself, obviously I'm thinking about water conservation every day, whether it's a dry year or a wet year, because this is my job. But I noticed in this last drought, like, oh, I haven't been putting my bucket in the shower, before this current drought. And I'm like, okay, now I can start doing that. And it's amazing how much water I've actually saved. So anyways, there are small efforts that pretty much everybody could do to just increase a little bit, even if it's like 1 or 2%, we still want you to be able to contribute to that effort. In a future slide, I'll also be talking about exactly what restrictions go along with stage 3. Each one of the shortage stages has different restrictions and prohibitions that we require per the stage. So one of the questions that we also get a lot is, why do you allow billing when it's a drought? And that actually is addressed starting in stage 5. That's when we felt like we're in a really significant and severe drought and we need a mandatory 30% reduction. At stage 5, building would be required to actually have a net zero impact, meaning that a developer would basically pay into a pot of money that would pay for water conservation programs to offset the water that new development would be taking up. So that goes enacted, or that goes into effect in stage 5. Also in stage 5 becomes water allocations. So we actually give every single person in the city of Santa Rosa a set amount of water that they can use. And if you go over, there's fines and penalties. So luckily, we're not at that place right now. We're still at stage 3. We are mostly making our goal of a 20% reduction. Right now, we're at an 18% cumulative reduction. Last summer, we were achieving I think it was 23 to 26% reduction. So it was really high. In the wintertime, it's always lower because it's really hard to get a lot of indoor savings, because we've had people committed to water conservation in our area for so long, and they've mostly replaced all of their inefficient fixtures. But overall, we're doing a pretty good job of saving water, and we're almost at that reduction target of 20%. So keep up the good work. Next slide, please. So here are some of the stage 3 prohibitions that we should all be aware of. So our water waste ordinance is actually always in effect. That was adopted by our city council in 1990. And it prohibits leaks and breaks in our water system, and it prohibits overspray and runoff. So if you see a broken irrigation head, sprinkler head, water running down the street, something like that, please let us know. We cannot be everywhere. We can't possibly see every issue. And so please report these kinds of issues to us. We have a form online that you can fill out to report the leak or break or issue. You could also call us or you can email us. All of that information will be in my last slide. So please take advantage of that because we do want to know when there's an issue. You can also report that anonymously at any of those sources. So if you don't want us to know who you are, that's fine too. We never tell the person who we are speaking to about the water waste that they've been reported by a certain person. So don't feel like you don't want to report something because you don't want to be known. We never share that information with other people. Some of the other stage 3 prohibitions and restrictions is that irrigation is limited to at night. So 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's the only time that you can have overhead irrigation. So that means a sprinkler system. You could run your drip system during the day if you wanted to, and you can hand water with a hose if you want to between 8 p.m. outside of those hours between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. And of course, if you're doing an irrigation systems check, you're turning on your sprinkler system and confirming that all of the heads are aligned, you don't have a broken sprinkler head, something like that. Do that during the day, right? You don't need to be wandering around at night, inspecting your irrigation system. So please, it's fine, do that during the day. But when it's regularly running, make sure it's between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. The other thing to note is that hose shutoff nozzles are required. So we give those away for free at our offices. So you're welcome to come by our office anytime and pick one up. You can also get them for pretty inexpensively at, local hardware stores. They're like $5. Either way, you've got to have a hose shutoff nozzle on your hose. We also are prohibiting washing down of hard surfaces. So, your driveway, you can't hose that down. You got to use a broom. And that also corresponds with no pressure washing. And there's some exceptions to this. So for example, if public health and safety, so for example, removing animal feces or something like that from a sidewalk, that would be okay to hose down. But otherwise it's prohibited. Restaurants also are only allowed to serve water upon request. So you should see cards or, something on the menu or some indication, a sign in a restaurant that says that they're only going to serve water upon request. And then of course they should only be serving you water upon your request and not just automatically bringing it to your table. So while that probably only provides a small amount of water savings, it really just keeps drought in the forefront of our minds and reminds us all that water is too precious to waste. And then hotels and lodging, they're required to place out cards that say that they only need to, or that you only want to wash the linens upon your request. So again, we provided free signage to all of our hotels and our lodging establishments in the city of Santa Rosa, or they're welcome to create their own and put those in their hotel rooms. Next slide, please. So we are implementing and enforcing all of our prohibitions. Obviously, we've done, well, maybe not obviously, but I hope obviously, we have done a lot of outreach to customers. We're at several events every single month in our community. We're doing a lot of social media. We do paid advertising through the Press Democrat and Spanish language outreach. We have videos going on, city connections articles, bill inserts. The list goes on in marketing every single month. So I hope the word is out there that a drought is happening. We also do water waste patrols. So you can see here in this picture on the right-hand side, this is one of our city employees, and he actually found, this major source of water waste and is writing them an oops ticket. So we actually have water waste patrols that go around our city from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Every day in the morning during the summertime. And basically they're just looking for issues exactly like this as seen on this slide. And so they leave a door tag on the customer's house, letting them know, hey, you may have an issue here, we see it. And then they provide us sort of a tag at the end of their shift. And we follow up with all of those customers, letting them know, hey, we saw this issue. how are you going to fix it? What are you going to do? So through our water waste patrols, and then we're also able to look at our hourly water usage, which is online. Between those two, we receive about 700 to 800 reports of water waste every year that we follow up on. So we're pretty busy with that. We also have our water waste reporting form, which I mentioned earlier. Please use that to report water waste. We can't be everywhere, so helps us see what's going on. We also have automatic metering infrastructure. So those are those new water meters that read our water use every hour of the day. You can actually go on yourself and look at your own hourly water usage, which I really encourage you to do, because then you'll be able to see right away if you have a leak or a break. And I believe there's a slide coming up about that. And then we do have certain variances. So if for some reason you need to use more water than we're allowing, or in violation of a prohibition for like a medical activity, for certain health and safety, or for certain construction activities, please contact us so that we can grant you a variance for that water use. Next slide, please. So this is the WaterSmart portal that I was mentioning. This is the actual portal where you can go on and look at your water usage every hour of every day. It updates once a day, I should say, from midnight the day before. So it's not real time, it's not instant, but it's pretty darn close. It's a day behind basically. So also in this portal, which is very cool, you can set up leak notifications for yourself. So you can actually get a email notification if you've gone over a certain amount of water, and you can set that threshold yourself. So for me, I set my weekly watering, or sorry, my daily watering notification at 0, because obviously I'm going to use more than 0 gallons every week. So it means I automatically get an email every single week telling me exactly how much water I used. And that's really helpful, especially you go on a long vacation, something like that, where you're not going to be using water, and you get that email and it tells you you're using water, you got an issue. So it can really help you just sort of be aware of what your water using habits are, and it can help you really notify you if you've got a leak or high usage or a spike or something like that. So I encourage you to sign up for the portal. And of course, it's free for anyone who lives in Santa Rosa. And the website is listed on the slide here. Next slide, please. So we also provide a lot of tips and tools and resources. We've got a do-it-yourself home water checkup kit that you can pick up from our offices. You can pick up any number of free devices. We have toilet dye tabs to test your toilet for leaks. We have shower heads, both fixed shower heads and handheld shower heads, kitchen aerators, bathroom aerators, hose nozzles. We're also just recently added toilet flappers. So if you've got a toilet leak, as you've determined from your getting the toilet tabs from us, you can come into our office and we can help you pick out a flapper that will fit for your toilet. We also have a huge array of rebates, which I'll talk about next. So the website is here, srcity.org/watersmart. All of our programs, that's our main landing page. So you'll be able to navigate from there to find our pickup information for any of these devices. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we've got quite the suite of rebates available. We've got a clothes washer rebate for $50. As I mentioned, our free WaterSmart devices. We've got a recirculating hot water pump rebate. That's been really popular recently. That offers $250 for a pump, per pump. And basically that allows you to have instant hot water so that you're not waiting for your shower head or your faucet aerator to warm up before you actually use it. So know that that's available. We also have an irrigation efficiency upgrade rebate. So that's $300 and basically allows you to upgrade from a sprinkler system to a drip system or any number of irrigation upgrades. We also have our cash for grass rebate, which is our lawn removal rebate. Because we're in a drought, we've increased that rebate to $1.50 per square foot. So it's pretty substantial right now. At the end of this drought, it'll probably decrease. So I suggest getting in on that rebate as soon as you can. We also have a rainwater harvesting rebate, and we pay 50 cents per gallon of water stored. So that's also been recently increased and will be for until we run out of funding, basically. So you should get that rebate also while it's still available. And then lastly, we have a gray water reuse rebate. That's $100 per fixture, which is basically the washing machine and routing that water, that used water, out into your plants. Or if you're doing a much more complex system, say you're pulling your bathroom sink and your bathtub out into your landscape or reusing it indoors, then we pay $400 per 1,000 gallons saved. So we would work out with you which rebate is better for the gray water system. Next slide, please. So great. I thought there was a contact slide. So I'm sorry, I'll make sure that that's available when I send this off. Yeah, if you go back, perfect. So sorry, I don't know what happened to that slide, but if you need to contact us, here is our main website page. You can email us as well, or you can just do the old-fashioned phone call and we will respond promptly. So thanks everyone. And like Brian said, I will be here for questions.
So there are a couple of questions. One says, I'll just start from the beginning. One says, hi, Claire. So the other didn't receive last week's link, and I will enter a good email address and phone number for you to check in on the slides last week. The first question is, how much of our water comes from the Eel River?
Chris, can you go back to one of my slides? It's slide 9, but I don't think that's helpful for your slide deck, but it's slide number 9 on mine.
Let's see.
Green, there it is. Perfect. So I don't know exactly how much water comes from the Eel River through the Potter Valley diversion, but if you take a look at this graph, the gray line was the historical average before 2005. And you can see the green line, which is the historical average after 2005. So in that year, the Potter Valley project was ordered to reduce their diversions from the Eel River to Lake Mendocino. So you can see the difference there. Looks to me to be about 10,000 acre feet. And then if you take a look at the blue line at the way far right, the water supply seems to be going up even though it is summertime and there's no rain. So that is the water supply being turned back on from Potter Valley, from the Potter Valley project, which again is looking like about 10,000 acre feet.
What happens if either of the lakes go completely dry?
Okay, so Lake Sonoma will probably not go dry. It is, like I said previously, a three-year water supply reservoir. It's highly unlikely that that would happen. Lake Mendocino came very, very close, as you can see in that graph, in 2021. I believe Ukiah was not able to withdraw water from the reservoir. But as far as the effects on our supply, we have Lake Sonoma to back that up, as well as other sources such as groundwater. And of course, the city of Santa Rosa has their own wells as well.
And I was just going to add to that as well that, you know, we don't want to run out of water, right?
Yeah.
So we're not, you know, trying to push off inevitable. Like we literally are planning for dry years, for multi-dry years. I mean, that's part of our process, not only required by the state of California, but because it's a good business practice. I mean, we sell water. We're part of our city. We all, you know, most of us Santa Rosa employees live in Santa Rosa. We don't want to run out of water. And that's why we undergo this extensive planning process of the water shortage contingency plan and our urban water management plan that really describes what are the ways in which we're never going to run out of water. How do we ensure that we never get to that place? And so what are the restrictions and prohibitions that we need to put in place now so that we don't get to that point? And then Brian from Sonoma Water, they also do the exact same process. So there's a lot of regional collaboration to ensure that we're never going to run out of water.
Okay, next question is, are there any restrictions on, excuse me, on ag wineries for water conservation? For example, reducing new plantings of grapes?
I can kind of tackle that. So Sonoma Water does not provide any water for agricultural purposes. We are strictly a municipal water provider, wholesale water provider. The state board does manage the water rights of the properties along the Russian River, and they have asked these properties to curtail their water withdrawals from the river.
The next, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, can I just add?
Of course.
So I just want to say that the city of Santa Rosa does not provide any water to any agricultural interests. We only supply water to urban customers. So just to clarify, people think that somehow the city of Santa Rosa is pumping water to vineyards or wineries, and we don't. There's only water supplied to urban customers.
So the next question is, does Santa Rosa ever supply Sonoma County with water?
No, we only supply water to City of Santa Rosa water customers.
And the next question is, can we do limited hand watering between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m.?
Yes, so hand watering is allowed at any point during the day as long as you have a hose shut-off nozzle.
What about resources for those of us who don't live in Santa Rosa, rebates, etc.?
Brian, you want to talk about the partnership?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
What about resources for those that don't live in Santa Rosa, rebates, etc.? I think they missed the water partnership part. So.
Oh, sure. So at the Sonoma Marin Saving Water Partnership.org, you can find listings of rebates for our partner agencies. So all the way up in Cloverdale, all the way down to Marin. If you're in an unincorporated area, you're likely going to be on a well, as which you do not have a service provider, so there would be no rebates available currently. We are working with one of the local resource conservation districts on a rainwater harvesting rebate. You can find that information on the partnership website as well.
And everybody can borrow the DIY toolkit throughout the county at any library.
Correct. And also the Quell program, all of our non-financial programs are available to all members of the county. So including the Garden Sense program, they will come out and check out your landscaping and give you ideas, tips, and advice on how to use less water in your yard.
So here's a question about one of my favorite topics today is the Santa Rosa Water Portal, because I really love it. I think it's an awesome tool. Is there a water portal type program for areas outside of Santa Rosa, for example, the Valley of the Moon area?
Yeah, so each different city would need to have invested in that. So I can't speak to every single city in Sonoma County. I'm fairly certain that Valley of the Moon does have a similar portal, but I'm not positive. I could, not 100%, but I think that they do. So you should check with Valley of the Moon Water District if you're in that service area to see. And like I said, each different water utility, had to have invested in that. So I don't know what everybody did.
Yeah, I do know that the water providers in Sonoma Valley are working on installing the infrastructure to make that possible, but I'm not sure if it's up and running yet. And like Claire said, just contact your water provider and they will know the answer to that.
There is another question about receiving the slides via email. So I'm going to put the our division's contact information in the chat. It's actually on the last slide too. So let me just get over there. I don't usually navigate the slides during the Q&A, but here you go. So anybody who maybe didn't receive slides or recordings last week or from another webinar or is interested in receiving this webinar information, please contact our office at either via email or the front desk office line there that's on this slide. Let's see. Do you foresee a building requirement in California to require gray water systems?
I think this is an interesting question. Maybe. I mean, there's no indication of that. I haven't heard any rumors of that, but I could see it being possible maybe in many years from now. I think that it inherently, though, it implies that gray water is the best way to save water, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think there's many more low-hanging fruit that can be a better investment of both your time and your money to save water. I think of gray water as more like the cherry on the top. After you've done all of these other water-saving things, then move on to gray water. Gray water ultimately pulls your water, or the most simple system, pulls your water from your laundry, your washing machine, and goes out to your landscape. If you have one of the new high efficiency clothes washers, you're only producing about 14 to 15 gallons every time you run a load. And that's really not very much water. If you compare that to, say, removing your lawn, that's, it can be 31 gallons per square foot of lawn removed. So, every single year that you've done that. So just the water savings for gray water system is not that high. I think it's great if people want to do it. It's just not the top thing that I recommend to people because there's so many more opportunities to save water that are less expensive and have a greater return on investment for you than gray water systems. So my 2 cents.
So there's a question about toilets, low water use toilets. Someone bought an older house in Santa Rosa, and is there a rebate available for low flush toilets?
Yeah, we currently do not have a rebate for high efficiency toilets. We may be developing one. We'll see, to be announced. But as of right now, we do not have a rebate for high efficiency toilets, mainly because we had one for so many years. We've already replaced 56,000 toilets in Santa Rosa. We only have 56,000 accounts. So, the savings are sort of diminishing at this point as to how many more rebates we could actually issue to people. But it's a potential that if this drought continues, we would offer a program that would rebate older toilets.
I can add a little bit on that as well. So in 2015, the state adopted a stricter water efficiency standard for toilets. They are now required to use 1.28 gallons or less per flush. And currently, the most efficient toilet on the market is 0.8 gallons per flush. So if you have a 1992 and newer toilet, they typically use 1.6 gallons per flush. If you got a new toilet with 0.8 gallons per flush, you would save half of the water, 50% with every flush.
So it looks like the last question is related to recommendations for water heaters. If you always want to have, it says if you want to have always on hot water, and water heaters are not the problem here, it's the distribution of hot water. So Claire did mention a rebate for a hot water recirculation pump. And that's actually, if you're in the city of Santa Rosa, you could reach out to, or any of these organizations for information about that technology. But water heaters aren't really there are no water saving water heaters. But there are great energy saving water heaters. So if you have questions about that, reach out to our office.
Yeah, Chris nailed that. The recirculating hot water pump is what we rebate for $250. We don't provide recommendations for any specific vendors or models of things, because as a government, we want to stay, independent and not like we're giving any recommendations to one business over another. So we don't provide recommendations, like I said, for vendors or for specific devices. So for the recirculating hot water pump, there are many requirements for it in order to receive our rebate, which we would go over with anyone during a pre-inspection. And I should have said during my rebate section, pretty much, I think 100% of our rebates require a pre-inspection. So please do not start any work before you get a pre-inspection. If you've already started the work, you're often ineligible for the rebate program. So please contact us before you start anything.
So that looks like all the questions we have today. Thanks so much for your wonderful presentations. Such an important topic, and we really appreciate you joining us today. If anybody has any questions, you'll have Claire and Brian's contact information on the slides and our division's contact information. We're happy to help you connect to resources and programs. And so thank you and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Chris.